Hey, how are you today? I hope your day's been good and your week. And by the way, have you been waiting for this week's My Story story or episode for this week? Well, don't wait anymore. The time I realized I was so messed up is when I would sleep at night and I would feel somebody is struggling me, and my mom would tell me I'm screaming. That time I was living with my mom, and when my mom would tell me, would come to check why I was screaming, she will find I have scratches on my neck. We didn't figure out if the scratches I inflicted myself or it's somebody who really struggled me. And at that time, I went into deep depression. I thought maybe the devil wanted me to die, or I could have hallucinations. I could hear like my dad is pulling me, he's calling me to go where he is. I felt like that's the end. But this time, by the time we get here, I'm already lost. I'm already so much lost, and nobody is kind of understanding me. Plus, you've come to a new kind of new environment, so you're still trying to adapt. You're in the US, you're still trying to adapt, and then I'm still looking for that void of men. I became like, I can't live. Let me say this: I would not be able to live without. I had to have a man talking to. That is how I felt. If I had if I was not talking to a man, I felt empty. I felt, and at that time I felt like I missed out. It's like some face was taking me out and I'm horrible. Maybe this is how I was born to be. And maybe in the family there was something close to that. And I felt like we were not lucky, or maybe I felt like that is how we were. We were born to be miserable. We were not born to be loved. We were not born to do this. We were not born to be like this. That's how I felt. And I went deeper. And so I think either my mind was playing tricks with me every time I would have those hallucinations, all those dreams, and for the first time I felt like I needed to end them. So for the first time I got suicidal thoughts. For all this time, even if I felt not loved enough, even if I felt like there was something that people were not seeing in me, for the first time I felt like I never needed to be in this world. Like, why would I get all these crazy things? I mean, it was weird when you find you have scratch in your neck and you don't know if what happened when you were sleeping, or was this real? Is my mind playing trick with me? Am I crazy? Am I gonna go somewhere and get locked up? I don't want to go get help. I don't want to find myself in a mental place or something. And that was my first time when I felt like I needed to die. And it's funny because I had gone the other times when I even go through that, it's like I said, I had gone through some rape and all that. I never felt the need to die. I just felt like it was a punishment, like it was okay, like I went, like I deserved it, or like I went looking for it. So I never felt so much bad about it. But this time, for the first time, I felt like this was too much. And that is why I kind of I felt like I needed. That was my first time when I had those suicidal thoughts, and I walked out of the house, and I didn't know if I felt like maybe if I go to freeway and something hits me, maybe that would be, I would die sooner, or the way you something that will not make people. At the same time, even if I'm having this time around, even if I'm having suicidal, I still felt like I didn't want to feel that much pain or make people to have much. So I wanted something that I would die quickly. I didn't want to be rescued. You see, like she attempted suicide and then she was rescued. I didn't want that. I wanted, if it's death, it's death. Like, I don't want to live with that. And that time I had 3 kids already, and 2 kids were back home, and my last born was still young, maybe 2 years. And then I went and I walked, but I didn't get to the freeway. I went and sat down somewhere, and I thought about my kids back home, and I was like, maybe not this time. Maybe not this time. I had a second thought for some reason. I don't know if it was God. Maybe it was God, or maybe not. And so I had a second thought, and I went back home, and I slept. And so I shared this with somebody about hallucination and everything, and they bought me a radio. He bought me a radio and put it in the room, and he would play gospel 103 point something. It will play Hope FM. It will play all through gospel music all through, to kind of help me, because I felt like there were spirits in the bedroom, my bedroom. And so I fought this, and it kind of went down kidogo, like a little bit, but after, and I still moved on. But now I found this is what I found solace in. I had already found solace in alcohol already before. I was already introduced to alcohol before, so now I got so much deeper into alcohol. Like I felt like that's what calmed me, drinking, and that's what made me better. And so even my things changed. I would hang out with people who, of course, you have the same common alcohol, and it became from alcohol to marijuana, and it came from that. At some point I even sniffed cocaine. It became that strong, and I got addicted, and I was like, that it made me feel calm. And let me tell you something, these people who sometimes do this thing, they give you a little bit of love. I think it's to kind of move you in, whether it's to bring the money or to what you do, so you feel like you're wanted. But only later, in life, you realize it was not like wanting you in a good way. And but the funny thing, all this time I'm going to church, and I never used to serve in church, but I'm still going to church. I'm born as the Seventh Adventist, and they are strict. I've been born by a mom who was strict in church, raised by sisters who are very strict, gone to church where there are very strict teachers that time. So it's not like I didn't know God or I didn't know the right thing, but it didn't matter to me at that time, or I didn't feel like this God is real. I was taught God, but I didn't feel like he's real. Like I felt like, if he's really real, why didn't the whole thing about my dad also disturbed me until I was like 25, because I was also, why was he real? Why would he take my dad away and raise me without a dad, and make my mom suffer with all this raising us? So it didn't really bother me. It was like a routine. Church to me was a routine. I have to go to church, I have to go to Pathfinder, I have to do this, because it's a routine. It was no more, if I don't go, my mom would be mad, my teachers would not be happy. So it was more of a routine. I go to SDA churches. It was more schools. I went to an SDA school. It was more of a routine to me. It was nothing spiritual or closeness to God. So meanwhile, I'm even here in the US, I'm still going to church. I'm still doing all this. But deep down, I'm lost. And I'm so lost, like really lost in all this, and trying to find a void still. I'm still finding a void. The men are still there. I'm still having this void. And so at some point, to come again about suicide, at some point I got into a relationship with somebody, and he filled the gap of fatherly figure so well, and he was so good to me. But things happened between me and him, and there was a quarrel, and there was a disagreement, and I felt like now God is taking away the only person that I had come to that had really gave me that fulfillment. I felt like now he's taking it away from me. And that is when now I had suicidal thoughts now for the second time. And I took off. It was really snowy that time, and I took off, and I went, and I drove. I don't know where I went. I drove very carelessly, making a plan of how I'm gonna die and how I'm gonna do. And I went, and I found myself in a place called Moses Lake. And I remember going somewhere, and I had a kitamba, a scarf, and I wanted to hang myself because I thought it was somewhere in a park. And when I had really planned, and I'm waiting for people to get out of the park so that it can happen. And then a lady came. She could not go, and she started talking to me. I just felt like, what is she doing here? I mean, can she go? She's throwing stones in the lake. She's talking. Oh, isn't it so sweet to be here? This is fresh air. And I'm like, that time you've already made up your mind. So I felt like she's taking time away, and I tried to move away, but so I planned a bottle. So looking back and knowing now better the way I know right now, I know that God used that lady to stop me from whatever I was doing. She came from nowhere. So I believe there was a reason why God sent that lady at that particular time. Because once I went back to the car, I didn't see her again. So there was a reason why that lady came at that particular time. And so I said, when plan A didn't work, so I had a plan B. So I went, I bought an overdose, a lot of pain meds, and I bought different, I don't even know what I bought. You know, whether you go to a pharmacy, Walmart, and you just pick anything that you can overdose. That's what I did. I booked a hotel room, and I bought alcohol, and I drank the whole bottle, the whole strong liquor, and I took a whole bottle. I think was 10 on that. I took some pills, and I don't remember anything that because I passed out. And when I woke up, or when I kind of felt I had vomit all over me, and that is when my sister found me too. So she found me in a lot of vomit and a lot of all that, and I remember seeing her and thinking maybe we died, both of us, or what happened, or did she come here, or did she got shocked? I was so close to my sister Ada, so I thought, did she get shocked that I died and she died? Like, it was weird because I'm still not in my whole sense. And we hugged and she cried, and that's when I realized plan 2 didn't work. It didn't work. And at that time I still didn't have a heart to say it didn't work or anything, but because my sister is here and we talked out, and I felt like, okay, then maybe I need to do it this some other time, or one other time, or whatever. And we came back, and things went like they are normal, but to me they were still not normal. My mind was still saying that I needed to die. I was done. I needed to die or something. And they went on for a long time. All this time I'm getting comfort in alcohol and other things. I'm very far away from God, and mind you, I still go to church, but I'm very far away. And maybe to take you back a little bit, that time when I had that dream also, I had said I'm not gonna go to church again. Back the first time I had suicidal, when I wanted to go into the freeway, I had said, and then we happened to start going to one church, and maybe Grace does. I think I've told her this, and she was so happy to see me. There's a way she welcomed me. You see the way you go to you are lost, and somebody welcomes you and gives you their all. I felt like she told me there's a second chance in a church. I think I've told her this before. And so that day I had told even my mom, Miss, I'm not gonna be going. I don't feel comfortable going to church. But that day, the way she spoke to me, it changed my mind. I felt maybe I should give it a chance, the church. So back to the other. So I decided, back in my mind, I always say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. At some point, I will do it. Nobody knew what I was deep into. I didn't share what I was going into, because once you share, it's everybody's business. So I didn't share, but I knew I was done with life. Until a lady, maybe I'm not going to mention her name, she passed on and she left a little girl. And that's what changed my mind. Seeing that girl cry for her mom during her memorial, seeing her lay there and the girl wailing, I looked at my son's picture and I realized how much I would destroy my son's life. My story.
My story.
My story is a place of hope and healing for all people, men, women, veterans, young adults, teenagers, and even children. Everyone, regardless of their social status or sexual orientation. It
is a place of motivation and inspiration.
My story will talk about real life situations and real life stories, because no one is immune to stress, depression, anxiety, and other mental health problems, and our stories resonate. My name is Grace Ngere, Suicide Awareness and Prevention Advocate.